Kryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl-nana, dump it all. Kryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl-nana, dump it all.
Kryptonana, exit liquidity,
dump it all.
hodl-nana, dump it all. From the day we arrive on the blockchain and blinking step into the trade, there's more to lose than can never be won, more to dump than can never be saved. Influencers, tweets, and the noobs all follow, buying high, selling low at a game. But the boomers know, and Saylor, he knows that the dump is coming. It's all the same. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Some of us fall by the wayside, and some of us soar to the stars. But the influencers always win with the Lambos and their cars. So beware of the pump and the inevitable dump, for the cycle continues and the news get wrecked. Kryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl-nana, dump it all. Kryptonana, exit liquidity, hodl-nana, dump it all. Kryptonana, exit liquidity, dump it all. hodl-nana, dump it all. It's the circle of exit liquidity, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and FOMO, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of exit liquidity. Dump it all.
So, hey everyone, welcome, happy Friday. Yeah, we're just chatting off the air about some other stuff. But, yeah, how are you doing on this very fine, overcast, at least for me, Friday day?
I'm doing great. I do also have overcast right now, but in Florida it's crazy because every day you have a storm come in for about 5 minutes and then it's gone and it's blue skies again. So we're in the storm phase. I just heard thunder and saw like a ton of rain for a few seconds and now it's gone. So yeah, it's very nice.
That's good. It's good to know. Yeah, I mean, this podcast does keep me sane talking about stuff. I have to admit, I've done a decent amount of work the last 2 days, but I've done a decent amount of talking about what we're going to talk about online, just being petty and such. So, yeah, it's kind of a fun vibe this time. But yeah, the world's going crazy. Yeah, and also, by the way, thanks for being on the Dash Space yesterday.
For sure.
That was fun. It's funny because we do somewhere else. Again, I'm just throwing it on the space in case people didn't hear it on the other one about the Cypherpunk Consortium type deal.
Yeah.
The free crypto project, whatever we want to call it. I think that idea is very important and it has legs, and then just got to figure it out. And I don't know, like, every bit of the rabbit hole goes deeper. Like, is it all these projects pledged to use decentralized tech in their stuff? And all the resources about this, is it a resource? Is it a ratings agency? Is it, like, the pledge makes sense about, like, we are going to maximize freedom tech and stuff like that. But what are the details? And also, I don't know, maybe it's something, maybe it's a nonprofit, maybe a transition to nonprofit where it could just start a nonprofit and do this stuff. I don't know. There's so many ways that could go, but I think that it is going to be something fun to capture.
Yeah, is that something you want to talk about today, or we should maybe we should give the audience a little bit of understanding of what we're talking about. I don't know if you want to get into it, but basically, like, most liberty-minded folk who are thinking about such things recognize the Free State Project and what's going on in New Hampshire is the most successful liberty movement. My lifetime, maybe, I don't know, in a very long time. And I don't think anything, I don't know everything, so maybe I could reserve the right to be wrong, but I don't think anything in the world rivals what New Hampshire is doing, because it's actually moving in the direction towards liberty, where everybody else is maybe slowing their approach towards tyranny, but they're really not going in the reverse. Like, every state government's getting bigger, more laws on the books, et cetera. Where you got New Hampshire, the one place that's going the opposite direction, and so I think it's probably the freest place in the world. I mean, even though it's under the umbrella of the U.S. federal government, probably still the freest place in the world. Now you could go out into, like, the Alaska tundra and not be bothered to see anybody. You know, you could go into the Amazon in Brazil and maybe never come across anybody and live out in those places. But if you want, like, a society and a culture around you, likely you're not going to find anything freer than New Hampshire. I don't think. And so,
yeah,
the question that we posed yesterday was and largely what made that successful is the Free State Project, which it was a thesis by Sorens, but basically you pledge to move to New Hampshire and affect liberty. You probably can say it more eloquently than I can, but you know, use as much effort as possible to affect liberty in the state of New Hampshire, make it more and more free. And so we were having an institution talk yesterday on the Dash podcast about our institutions pulling crypto in the right direction, really. And I think largely no, because power corrupts. And so I think what we need is a consortium of influential, entrepreneurs who will come together and agree to only work on tech that leads to more sovereignty for humans. So that's a little bit of an explanation of what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, and that's like, you know, kind of like rambling on like bonus material before hitting the intro and doing like the real content for the show.
Oh.
But yeah, that's just, it's a thought I'd like to open source the idea for.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Now with New Hampshire, the idea for the Free State Project was centered around move to New Hampshire so you can affect political activism to get people elected to change laws. And that seems to be the greatest success of what happened. But the idea, the pledge did not include this idea. It just was move here and figure it out, kind of.
Move here and figure it out.
And there's a lot of beautiful figuring it out, like the crypto hotspot. And of course, we can ramble on that another day. But the thing is, like, what's the move here in a virtual thing? Like, you pledge, and then how do you gather? And so I'm thinking, like, it has to be some sort of a directory or a series of directories. It has to have events and consortiums. It has to have media things. It has to whatever, for the purpose of getting these groups together. And maybe someone can spin up a lobbying arm at some point somewhere, which we already have in the U.S. at least, lobbying arms for crypto, like Stand With Crypto, for example. There's a lot of ways it could go, and it just, You know, I mean, I want it to exist, and I would like to be part of it, but I don't know if I'm the one to make it. I don't know if someone else is the one to make it, and I don't know where that goes. But that would be. I'll think about it. It might just start with a website and some media, and I'll see if I can like raise some money to like pay someone like me to do some part-time like organizing type stuff about just outreach and media and pledges and stuff. So I'll think about it. I haven't really thought about it that much, other than a little bit, but it'll be interesting. In the comments below, etc., which is, you know, content creator verbiage. But anyone who knows me and hears this, or either of us, just I'm volunteering your inbox to be open, by the way.
Fine.
Talk to, just give your ideas. What do you think? What could we do? So yeah, anyway, let's actually hit the real intro and then just talk about the news. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. So, hey everyone, officially welcome. Welcome to the Digital Cash Rundown episode. I don't even remember what it was, 228. Wow, 228 of these so far. A plus for consistency or longevity. D plus for production values, maybe. I'm joined by, and obviously at least a solid A for guests, as evidenced by today. So I'm joined by the one and only Matt Carano. How's it going, man?
Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And didn't have too much specific on the agenda except for what's going on in the world today of crypto, and wherever it aligns with my personal interests and something that's going on and roughly crypto, there we have a show. And I have a very strong personal interest in being petty and I told you so-ish about certain things. And so there's some overlap in the news. It's like things that I enjoy being petty about, things that are in the crypto news. And the Venn diagram crosses over a certain company by the name of Strategy or MicroStrategy. And so let's just jump right into it. So do you remember the ad from back in late March, the advert for STRC, the new preferred stock offering, that you weren't meant to live an uncomfortable life?
Yeah, is that the one with the chick in the pool?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Well, the AI chick, but yeah.
I do remember. And I do want to say, too, I really appreciate that we're talking about this because, I mean, I just sort of peripherally understand MicroStrategy, but I did some looking into it today. So now I understand the purpose, like what the instruments that they have, the whatever, strafe, stretch, strike, all those. So anyway, I have a better understanding of what's going on there and probably some opinions on it. But yes, I do know that ad now that you brought it up.
Yeah, and the funny thing about this is I think that's one of those things that really crossed over into skepticism territory for a lot of people here, because MicroStrategy has had all kinds of different stock, or what I should say, boomer tokens, right? Just like in the fiat world, I mean the crypto world, everyone has this token, and that revenue share token, a yield token, a DAO token. And now it's that, but like for boomers. So there's always been that going on. What happened with this latest STRC one was a lot of weird advertising, like this AI generated thing I put on. Phrases like "you weren't meant to live an uncomfortable life," to advertise a risky financial product, as well as for those who like money, or for people who like money. Oh, I like money. I should get some because I love money.
I like pools. I like attractive AI women, I guess. I don't know. I want money.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, does anyone hate money? I mean, the only people that hate money hate that they don't have it, but everyone would like some money. So those kinds of ads. So now what we're in now is a pretty significant drawdown in the price of STRC. And I'm just going to hit on a couple of these little things, and we can get into the actual, talking about it. So sure. Duo9 posted here. He says, Saylor's in a bit of a pickle. His Ponzi's collapsing in front of our eyes. STRC was supposed to stay around $100 and pay 12% yield. Instead, it crashed 11%. Increasing the yield to fix this will turn into a death spiral. This is bragging that you can pay 32 years of yield with your Bitcoin bag is not a flex. It's bearish if all you need to sell Bitcoin to sustain this Ponzi. So I mean, that's obviously very strong wording on that. And another interesting thing I should bring up, which would be the first like intelligent talking point, not just dunking. The Crypto Kaleo posted this clip of Feng Li, the MicroStrategy CEO, where he admitted, he says the yield from STRC comes from issuing more shares of MSTR. It's a direct quote from him.
Or the premium or the spread between their total holdings in Bitcoin and the asset price of MSTR. So it's from two places.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of a liquidation in order to pay a cash dividend. So STRC, for those who don't know, so MicroStrategy is a company. It has stock, common stock, just like I think everyone understands that. How much Bitcoin they hold has some effect on that. It's not necessarily no peg, no right to it, nothing like that, but they have a bunch of Bitcoin, so a company should be valuable, I guess, to a certain extent if they have all this Bitcoin on their balance sheet.
Yes.
This preferred stock, STRC, the only one people care about. The other ones exist, and everyone forgot that they exist, which is kind of funny to me. But this one, you basically just get paid out dividends every couple weeks now at like 11% per year. And you have to pay out those dividends. It's not just like, you dilute the stock, you do whatever.
On a monthly basis.
Yes. So where do they get this money? Why don't you jump in here as the premier expert of this issue?
Well,
you might know, but you probably have actually done more research than me. I've done big picture research.
Yeah. So they get it from a couple different places. They either sell, so they've got a number of these instruments like Stretch and Strife and Stride and whatever. So they sell those, which raises some funds. And then they also look at there's a difference between their total Bitcoin holdings and the value of all of their stock. So that difference adds some potential liquidity with which they do two things. They buy more Bitcoin and they pay off their the dividends that they owe. Now, their different instruments pay out different dividend amounts, sort of depending. Like their Strife STRF is like their fixed. It's fixed at 10% dividend per month. So they have to pay 10% out every single month on that dividend, no matter what. Like that's they have to. They're forced into it. Stretch is a little bit different, where they're trying to peg the value of the token. Stretch it. It almost felt like one of those variable supply tokens like Ampleforth and shit, but it's a little bit different. But Stretch, what they're trying to do is peg that the value of, I always want to say token, but it's their share to $100.
Boomer token.
Exactly, their boomer token. It's a good way to say it. So if the trading of their boomer token Stretch goes down to $95, what they do is they bump up the yield that they pay to entice more people to buy it, which would then boost the price. And then if it starts trading at above 100, say like 110, then they lower the amount of the dividend, which will disincentivize people to buy it. So then the boomer token price goes down. So they're like monkeying with it using, and the thing is, it's not an algorithm. It's like a group of people who are deciding this. So it's a little bit funky. Whereas variable supply tokens like Ampleforth, that's the one that I'm just most familiar with, is a algorithm. So it's really based on supply and demand. This isn't. This is just at the whims. Anyway, that's how those are the instruments. And then, like I said,
question on Stretch. I don't know if you've seen this in here anywhere. Is there anything in the actual terms and conditions of this asset that talks about the peg, or is the peg just, we have this thing, and by the way, because we can adjust the rate, we will try to keep it around 100, but that's not a guarantee, or it's not any legal writing?
Not as far as I know, but I didn't look that deeply into their terms and conditions. I do know that they will boost or they'll cut or add to the what's it called, the dividend by like 0.25% increments, and they'll do that on a monthly basis. But I don't know about the terms and conditions. I just know that they're going for 100. But when it slips, they can only raise, like, so which is what happened right now. Stretch plummeted under 100 into the 80s, I think. Maybe it was 11 or 12% down or something. Oh, okay, so it's 20% down.
It got as low as that. I think it's got to be like 88 now or something like that. I didn't check in the last day, I guess.
You can only raise the dividend price so much or the dividend percentage so much to compensate for the down value of that boomer token, because what that does is make you have to pay out more on a monthly basis. The dividend percentage that you have to pay is a real dollar value for them and puts pressure on Master and their whole company, basically.
Yeah, and so this is my reading on the thing, and I understand the disrespect that it confers to not do in-depth research into every little bit of this, but I do that a little bit on purpose for things that I'm not trying to confer any sort of a sense of officialness to. But it seems like this is the big picture of this is that Saylor's the Steelman, the criticism and Steelman in the same sentence is he's figured out that Bitcoin is scarce. There's limited. And he's figured out that he can sell people not scarce things, limitless things, and use them to acquire limited things. And that's as simple as it is, right? He's issuing shares, he's issuing other financial products, other things like that, and buying Bitcoin. And just the basic calculus is Bitcoin will go up versus things that aren't scarce, especially things that he can make even less scarce to buy more Bitcoin. And it's like, okay, it's just like it's just like if the U.S. government decided to establish, or the Federal Reserve decided to establish a Bitcoin reserve. As long as they can buy Bitcoin with dollars, they can continue to increase their value by just printing money and buying Bitcoin. And therefore, the value of the Bitcoin has to keep going up to a certain extent because, or at least versus the dollar, especially when they themselves have a number one hand in being able to issue more of the dollars, the limitless thing, to buy the limited thing. So first of all, do you think there's anything you disagree with in that basic assessment of what he's trying to do?
No, I think that's pretty much right. And he is really banking on the upward momentum of Bitcoin over time. But then it doesn't just mean though that if Bitcoin continues to go up, then he'll be successful and the stock will be successful and his instruments will be successful because they're also managing and playing with it too. So if they fuck up and make some mistakes, they could also tank their entire company, which was the big thing that happened. Early in June, they sold. Saylor's been saying he'll never sell Bitcoin, and then they sold 32 Bitcoin to cover their dividend because the price of there's so many instruments of Stretch went down, so they had to make up the difference on the dividends, and also Bitcoin was trading. I think his acquisition of Bitcoin is something like 73,000 and it was trading at like 61,000. So there's downward pressure on his stock and he needs cash to pay these dividends. And so they sold Bitcoin, 32 Bitcoin, which is a tiny amount versus the 30,000 Bitcoin they own, but still is is symbolic of the problem that if Bitcoin price goes down enough, or if he issues too many shares, or they don't compensate for their Stretch boomer token price in the right way, they could go into a death spiral and die. This feels very similar. It's probably not, but my very basic understanding of what happened with the Luna token, whatever that was, 4 or 5 years ago. This feels kind of similar to what could happen there.
Yeah, it definitely does. Now, to sort of back up a little before we get to like the 30, selling the 32 and all that stuff and how you're going to pay the dividends is, so you have the common stock and people are like, all right, let's, sell the stock and buy Bitcoin with it. Bitcoin goes up, the stock goes up. Therefore, you can sell more stock to buy more Bitcoin. It's an infinite flywheel type effect until it's not infinite, until it starts to dip. And then people are like, oh, this isn't good. And then you can't issue more stock to buy Bitcoin because it will just start to plummet more because this is being hyperinflated at this point and no one's going to buy it. Everyone's going to be upset. And at the same time, you want to not only have Bitcoin, but keep buying it to drive up the price. It's very, very dependent on this whole thing working out, is influencing the price, not just being part of price action. So then let's get other instruments. Well, they don't like the volatility where this stock goes. So we're going to issue things that pay them something solid, something real. So let's just do something, was the STRF or whichever one it was, the fixed one. You're like, guess what? We'll pay you 10% and we'll just sell this in perpetuity because we believe that over a long enough time frame, Bitcoin will go up more than 10% a year. So for us, this is kind of free money. All we have to do is manage the volatility. But then people get spooked because of various things. And then I would assume, again, this is the part I have not looked into, I've assumed STRF did actually fluctuate at some point, where now people started getting like, I get all this yield, but the price of the actual thing could go down. So then I lose my principal and it would take 10 years or whatever it is to get the actual yield back. And you can't just get your money back. You can only sell the share after that. So then it's like, okay, well, people stop buying that thing. Let me come up with a new product that people will buy. And the new product is the same thing where you're trying to get people to just sell. You're trying to sell this thing that will give them some yield, and you're banking on Bitcoin giving you more appreciation, so therefore you keep the difference. But this time, the yield is flexible, so you can peg it at that $100 range, so people won't get spooked and stop buying. So you can always get it back up to where people are like, oh, it's safe. It's been 100 for this whole time, and I get yield. Sure, I'll buy. Yep. And it keeps going. And now the cracks are forming on that. That's kind of where we are yesterday and today.
Yeah, and then the other thing I think that's important for people to know is like MicroStrategy used to be a software company, but it's not anymore. The only thing of value that they have, and they have a lot of it, but the only thing of value they have is Bitcoin. So the stock, so if you think about it, like value of the company wise, the stock price, the combined stock price, so the combined value of the company should only equal the value of all of the Bitcoin that it holds. Now, it's worth more than that or less. Exactly. But yeah, because you would think, right, because self-custody of Bitcoin would be preferable to people like us. Yes, but it's not I think it gives people the ability to, but it gives people
Bitcoin doesn't back these assets. It just happens to be owned by the company, and they can choose to buy or sell on a whim.
Exactly.
They could be liquidated. If there's debt, the debtors get that first. So it's so many levels of dilution past just a real Bitcoin in the pocket, so to speak.
Totally. I mean, you could argue that there would be upward pressure on the stock price because it's easier. It might be seemed as easier to have exposure to Bitcoin than self-custodying it yourself, or safer in some ways if you don't trust yourself. I think that could explain some of it, that there would be some upward pressure there. But regardless, there's nothing else of value in MicroStrategy besides the Bitcoin that they own. So everything hedges on that.
Yeah. Now, the funny thing with this whole situation is I kind of feel like there is some kind of a merit to Saylor's game. There could be some, right? And I should, by the way, be very, very clear on this. I don't think that anyone other than a pure speculator should buy any of his stuff. Agreed. I don't think it works out for them. I think that he's trying to make money off of the expense of people who aren't making money, which it's unfortunate. If you want to just be like, oh, buy STRC now, like some people bought it at like 81 or something like that, and now it's something like 88 or I don't know where it is. So those people can sell it to make a profit, of course, but that's just by selling to a greater fool somewhere, right? Now, Saylor getting capital, basically taking out loans, which is, doing these preferred stocks are kind of like loans. They're not really, but they're kind of like loans. Although they get paid out after actual debtors, which is in the event of a bankruptcy. But there is merit to the idea of getting money and using it to buy Bitcoin low, and then whenever you get appreciation on that, paying that off or paying for that, and just not only does Bitcoin ride it up, but if you're smart about timing market cycles, which I think timing it perfectly is almost impossible, but I think generally I think that any Neanderthal. No offense to any Neanderthal, based people out there, but anyone can, even like Geico, even a caveman could do it, right? Even a caveman knows when the price is low and knows when it's high. Like, so you could kind of get in that strike zone. So there is a model there. The problem is all this crazy leverage stuff is built to keep on inflating. And there have been some weird decisions, such as the sell Bitcoin decision, which has started to knock everything down. Now, it wasn't the first. So first of all, the big thing is the loss of confidence, right? Because Saylor said a bunch of different times has done these crazy statements to get basically an affinity scam going, as far as, I'm like the Bitcoin laser-eyed maxi bro, buy my stocks, buy my tokens. And because of that, at the altar of that, he's created expectations, which unfortunately, when broken, can damage his reputation.
Absolutely.
So what we had is all this pumpy talk forever. Oh, gonna keep buying Bitcoin, never stopping buying. And like when the price keeps going up, he keeps buying on the way up. That's not when you want to buy. You want to buy on the way down. Not even on the way down. You want to buy it down. But instead, now you have a high cost, an average cost of the Bitcoin. And just because you had to do this dumb thing. And then, okay, well, we're looking at a bear market. He knows it. Everyone knows it. We need to pay dividends, though. So what are you going to do? We need liquid capital so we can ride out the Bitcoin. So what does he do? Raise liquid capital for a couple of years, which I was very critical of the time, based on it's now just a Ponzi because you're raising money from people that you're going to then pay them back with that same money later. But unfortunately, it was a sort of Ponzi-esque at the same time as the smart move to do, because then you have money to do this. But then he blew his cash reserves on buying back some debt and then buying Bitcoin. And now he's in a position where he has to sell Bitcoin to then make the basic things. Said he'd never sell, and then said he told you to never sell, but he might sell. And then we're in this pickle today. So it's like a self-inflicted wound.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to check the numbers too, just so I remember correctly what.
You're my fact checker.
Well, not for you, but just
notes.
I said I thought that. Well, anyway, so I just have his average cost of acquisition is $75,680 per Bitcoin, and it's trading at $62,900 right now. So that's a problem. To be 13, yeah, and he has 845,256 Bitcoin. So do the math on the billions of dollars underwater he is right now. Billions of dollars. So yeah, I mean, he sold 32 Bitcoin, but it's the optics of it. He said he would never do that, and he had to. And it was only, $2.5 million or something at the time. It was a very tiny amount of his holdings, but it's the optics of he had to. And we're in a bear market. You're exactly right. I expect the price of Bitcoin, this is not financial advice, whatever, or it is, I don't care.
Yeah.
I expect the price of Bitcoin to go down. Like we're probably in bear until it turns around sometime at the end of the year. And so my expectations, it'll go lower.
At the end of the year. So for your cycle theory, right? As far as we've
October
both observed.
Yeah. So
as far as we've both observed, it's been every 4 years. And
my
this
bet
would be the first of 2 bear years. So for me, I would say 2028 is when you start to see some real recovery.
Yeah.
Then not financial advice, just observation.
Right. My bet is down. And so, given that, I would be worried if I'm here, because if this thing goes into the 50s, if he's 25,000 underwater per Bitcoin, oh my God, what is he going to do? What's he going to do? Because now that just means like the stock price, master stock price is largely what people's perceived value is only his perceived value, their perceived value of the company, and their company, if anybody looks into it, is only valuable because of the Bitcoin it holds and because it has access. People who have 401ks or whatever, they're in the market, they have money in the stock market or whatever, they can buy this shit. So there is some access to a supply of money that traditional Bitcoin probably doesn't have. You can't just take money out of your 401k to buy Bitcoin. It doesn't work that way. You got to buy it either whatever, FBTC or Master, whatever. So he has a real problem, because if the optics are bad enough, then people's perceived value of his token is going to be less. They're going to sell. It's going to put downward pressure. And this could start a spiral where he goes toast and the company goes toast. And he'll probably be okay with, but everybody else who put a bunch of money, it'll be like the Trump token again. People will lose a ton of money. And you made a great point earlier where it's not a direct IOU for Bitcoin. It's not like you can just trade in the stock for Bitcoin. No, that's not how it works. There's nothing behind it, but behind MicroStrategy's good name.
Yeah, and I do think such a company in a position it was in a few months ago, I should say, could have made it through the bear market. And I think that the big risk in that case would be make it through the bear market, get back into the green, which would be, but it'd be such a small green because of all the buying high, but also how much the price was influenced by the buying high this last cycle, that people would be like, oh yeah, I'm up 12% on my strategy's up 12% on its thing, or 15 or 20%, or I'm like, wow, that's great, but it's not like astronomical, and then that would cause people to be, it's not worth it, and he'd have to wind that down anyway. But then he made some mistakes, and that's what we were talking about these last few months where things got bad.
He should be buying all the way down.
Now I think he won't last the bear. If this is my prediction, I would say there will be some kind of a capitulation type thing before next cycle, I guess.
And what does that look like? Does he just pay? Because I don't think there was for certain on Stretch. There's no guarantee of any of any particular percentage in the dividend. So maybe it gets to a point where they pay zero.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: they're owed within a certain range, as far as I know.
Oh, are they? Okay.
So then I think that there is a range of like how fast they can move the rate up and down. I think that's in the terms, and they have to do a shareholder vote and all this kind of stuff. And I believe that there's a lower limit of how low the rate could get. And it might be something like 8% or something like that. I don't remember where it is, but there's only so far. They can't just say, sorry, you're earning 0%. Now the trading value of STRC could go to zero, of course.
That's true.
But the yields can't. He can just stop paying at any time, though. But then he still owes them those dividends later. So if he decided, I'm going to pay for 2 years, I'm going to wait out this bear market, he could, although the loss of confidence would be insane at that point.
Yeah, who's going to buy
that? The point
that?
is he could. So I think I'm trying to outline because whenever you're making these predictions, right? It's so easy to make the wrong kind of a right prediction and then be embarrassed for it later. So I got to be careful about the kind of prediction. What does a capitulation look like? It could look like strategy, like STRC, going to close to zero, and have it being retired. So if it goes low enough, right? If it's like, and this would actually be a genius move on if he threw enough fun out there about this, and people have been posting about this, by the way. It's not just a me idea. If it goes low enough, like $12 a share or something like that, he could just buy it all and retire it and just not owe any dividends anymore.
Totally.
Right? If people are scared enough that they can't ever get out of this. And then there goes the obligation. So that would be one capitulation, even though it's a very smart move, good for MicroStrategy, bad for the users. I still feel like that the digital credit product goes away. That's my later prediction. But I also think that you could have something like a massive permanent sell-off or a bankruptcy of the company. I think that that's on the table very much. And you could also have a mass sale of Bitcoin, which causes a pretty catastrophic crash.
Yeah.
And they pay off all their obligations. They have plenty of fiat in the bank account, but the value it's not this titan of industry company anymore. Now it's this shell of its former self, at least without its obligations, but without most of its Bitcoin. And then they're one of those things where those are the three toasts, right? It's white wheat sourdough, right? The three toasts. Those are the three toasts I can see of like STRC kind of goes to zero and has to get retired, which is a good capitulation for Saylor. You'd love that, right? Or like bankruptcy / just overall massive crash in MSTR, the common stock, and it just never really recovers to a great extent. And then like a giant sale of Bitcoin, and it could be all of these, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, if the price of Master goes under, goes too low, the problem is just no liquidity. Like he'll have no money to pay these dividends. And you're exactly right. It can't. Stretch would have a really hard time going to zero because the board can only move in 0.25 per month increments, so it'd take a while. And
for the yield to go down,
for the yield to go down, right? Exactly. So I don't think. Yes, the stock price could go to zero. That would be hard too because they are. I don't know. It's hard to say because I guess if it looks like death spiral, then people are going to jump off like lemmings. So it could be toast. Now, I did want to ask you about this though. You call it a Ponzi. I don't know that it's a Ponzi though. What do you think?
Now, here's the thing. Are we getting all Bill Clinton? It depends on what your definition of is.
Sure.
It
He set the
depends on what
standard. Why not?
Well, it depends on what your definition of it is. And the thing about Ponzi is like, depends what you mean by Ponzi or versus pyramid. But there's also the shorthand, like, because Ponzi has a very specific definition.
It does.
And I would say, if I were to say, does Michael Saylor sell any Ponzi schemes under the very strictest of definitions? I would say maybe not. But everyone understands, like the vernacular of Ponzi is something that people put money in and to get money out of, and the only way they get money out of is other people putting money in. That's like the one way. That's more of a pyramid scheme though. But people shorthand Ponzi for pyramid. So it's more of a pyramid scheme. Now, I don't I think that from the investor side of things, as in from the products, right? The investment products that he is selling, most of those are pyramid schemes. As far as like, I think STRC, it's being paid by dilution of the common stock, for example, in a lot of ways.
That's exactly right.
When you pay with it by selling Bitcoin, it crashes the whole thing, as we just seeing. It doesn't work super well. And when you raise money and then say, look, I did a cash reserve, green dot on the chart, and I'm covered for 2 years, and then he blows that in a mistake, but whatever. But that is a literal pyramid scheme because you're raising money by selling new people to then pay old dividend holders. And that's exactly right. Scheme.
Yeah, if you're raising fresh capital to pay dividends, so that means to pay your old investors, then that's the most sort of Ponzi adjacent thing. Yes. I wouldn't call it a Ponzi, but it's not pyramid. It's not clean.
Yes. And that's the I think the biggest scam, I would say, out of the whole Saylor thing has been this complexification of finance, where he sells big concepts of just buy Bitcoin, it's going up forever, never sell, all that kind of crap. Like the big concepts that he gets people in with the affinity scheme kind of part of things. And then what's under the hood of the company is super complicated financialization and a million different financial products with a bunch of very specific terms and then a bunch of equities and debts and all this stuff that no one understands, least of all himself probably. Yep. But like no one understands. So it's
ChatGPT understands.
About to get to that. It's so convoluted that you cannot criticize it. I mean, I do broad strokes in Twittering, right? In online, where I just call it a scam or a Ponzi. Again, we just discussed what that's shorthand for. But it's like, no, it's not actually. It's because he's this, that. And it's just like, do you understand how this works? I'm like, yes, I understand how this works. What about this other thing he's doing? I'm like, there's a new thing he's doing? Oh. Like, I don't have time to just research this obvious scam over and over again because it's so complex. Yeah. And so strategy is not one thing. That's the thing. It's big picture. It definitely is one thing. It's a vehicle for Michael Saylor to take people's money and buy Bitcoin, but mostly enrich himself. And that's how it works. That's the big picture. That's very simple. But everything under that is very many things, moving targets kind of things.
Yeah, I didn't know that there were all these instruments, but there are a ton of. There's like 4 or 5 different instruments, 5 instruments in here besides the.
There's like there's 4 preferreds as far as I know, right?
Yeah, there's strife. I'm going to call it stroke, stretch, and stride. I think you're right. There's 4.
There's 4 because and the reason I remember that is the FCKD acronym for the last letter is STRF, STRC, STRK, STRD, and because it's it's like you're screwed.
Yeah.
It's the acronym that it lines up, which is again the memes are great, including the complex financial spaceship. It's a spaceship. It's a rocket ship, and he builds this big complex chart that's a pyramid, and it's just like, oh, okay, well. The memes are great, and the self-inflicted ones. So ChatGPT, let's hit on this, right?
Yeah.
So this from Zach Vowell posted this thing from a CoinDesk clip, and he says STRC is down 15% in 2 weeks. Saylor said he designed it with ChatGPT, which is funny. And then I made this fun graphic here about use ChatGPT to vibe code a Ponzi-driven crypto market collapse with like the Rick Rubin with Michael Saylor's face doing the vibe code thing, which is just for the fun, right? I mean, obviously, we just covered about not a strict Ponzi, but I'm going to have a maybe controversial for myself take. The ChatGPT part is just really not good optics, but I don't really see anything wrong with it, right?
No. No, not at all. I mean, you probably don't want to say it, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It sounds horrible, but like he said, he worked with it. He went back and forth, and it's like some of these AIs have, like Claude Opus 4.8 discovered the Zcash inflation bug, where millions of dollars of security research could not find it over many years. So, like, I mean, I just asked an AI tool to figure, like, there's no shame in that whatsoever, but just the the vibe code on ChatGPT, you'd expect like as someone with like, you know, masters in finance and stuff, like come up with this very, you know, charts and whiteboards and physical paper. You'd expect all that. And the reality is he probably just says, I want a product that can do this and that. And it could have been, by the way, that these other products he had, the other preferreds were done, you know, were kind of a natural birth, as it were, right? They were created normally. And then he's like, something went wrong with this. And he says, hey, ChatGPT, take STRF, right? And how can you design it in a way that doesn't have people running for the gates? And they're like, well, what if you made it variable so that you could change the rate to keep the thing pegged at 100? Genius, chat genius. Write that down. That's probably what happened.
Yeah, and he had, I mean, you know, he had to test a bunch of things too, and the legal compliance and all that stuff. So he also wanted to know if it was novel, ChatGPT. He's basically, yeah, you're exactly right. He was just like, hey, ChatGPT, is it possible to peg an instrument at 100 in a way that's legal and novel? And ChatGPT is like, yeah, let's do it. It's like, I'm along for the ride. I'll do this.
Yeah.
The worst part about AI is it always tells you can do stuff. It never tells you, no, you can't do that. That's the problem. And so then these things happen in the world. These Ponzi's happen in the world.
I'm sure this is a whole other subject, but like that's why I use Grok so much more than the other potentially a lot better models, because it tends to just be kind of straight. It just tells you stuff instead of gassing you up or trying to like, you know, baby, you can't do something. Well, I really wouldn't recommend that. It just says stuff, you know. It feels very like, you know, what do I say, like Jarvis-esque. I kind of think the analogy was Grok is Jarvis and Claude and ChatGPT are HAL 9000. I can't let you do that, Dave. It's like, it's very, for those who remember that movie, like generations ago. But yeah, so you know who's the big winner in all this? To wrap up,
who's the big winner?
Who's the big winner is Peter Schiff. He's the big one. He's been loving
crushing Saylor.
Yes, this
Good.
is a Super Bowl.
This is
right
the
here.
perfect role for Peter. Like Peter Schiff on crypto. Like I had to stop following him because Peter Schiff on like Bitcoin and crypto in general. He's just been such a boomer for the last 15 years that I've been like, I can't deal with this guy anymore. This is a guy that I used to listen to his podcast. I don't know if it was every day, but it was every other day. That's how I was first introduced to Tom Woods, who used to sit in on his podcast. I mean, I'm a Peter Schiff guy, but I had to because of the crypto thing. This is the perfect thing. The perfect thing for him to be doing is beating the shit out of Michael Saylor. So I've been slightly defending Michael Saylor a little bit in this podcast, but everybody should know I fucking hate this guy.
I don't think you have been.
Well,
I think you've just
I feel like I've been
to be accurate.
I've been trying to give him. I know, but I could really have laid into it because I really hate it. And for people who have heard me on this podcast before, the reason is the guy he does not care about crypto or Bitcoin for sovereignty reasons. He only wants number go up. In fact, he advocates for the feds to use force against people who are using other tokens. Like this is not a champion of liberty. This guy sucks bad. And so if Peter Schiff goes after him, I'm going to follow Peter Schiff again. Anyway, continue with.
Yes. So, and the thing is, I have to admit, Peter Schiff is a little bit of an inspiration to myself in some cases. As I tell people, he's what inspired me to start living on crypto because he had the gold-backed debit card, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can just only have sound money. This is awesome. And then I learned about Bitcoin and other cryptos, and I never ended up doing that. But in another way, this guy is my father used to call him Chicken Little. He'd always tell my mom, here, listen to Chicken Little again, because he'd always say the sky is falling. And his whole playbook is identify a long-term problem, scam, collapse, whatever. And you don't have to be right on any kind of a reasonable time frame, but just be annoyingly, overbearingly bearish about this to where everyone thinks you're an idiot, and just go hard for years and years until finally it turns around. Even if all your micro predictions, it's going to collapse in the next 2 years, and then 8 years later it's still there. Doesn't matter if all that's wrong. Eventually you're right, and then you get to do your little victory dance. And so this is him on. He was a Bitcoin bear specifically, crypto of course, and then we kind of didn't like any of that stuff. But then he honed in because he knows financial stuff, like legacy financial stuff, boomer coins, and he just sees the whole. The Saylor is the one prediction you can be very confident is going to unwind, and he's been doing it for a while. I looked at my first critical of Saylor post. I think it was 2021 or something. So I've been at this like 5 years, and I was just like, look, Peter Schiff knows what he's doing here. He knows he's going to have a victory lap. I might as well bank in a victory lap. So we've been sort of on this journey together, Peter and I. So
that's good.
If you want to read these posts that he put, so he says, STRC is collapsing. Today's low is 85.32, which it got down to 81 something. Mm-hmm. Says, at this price, the yield is 13.5%. This means to get the share price back up to 100, to make earlier investors whole, he has to issue new shares. MSTR needs to raise the yield to 13.5%. That means the 85.32 buyers get a yield of 17.5%, which is crazy for
crazy.
This one, he says, if you're a retiree who bought STRC last month, you already have lost 15% of your principal. Don't worry. You likely have an ironclad lawsuit against MSTR so long as you purchased based on Saylor's promotion that touted the yield without properly disclosing the high risk. And then the next one here. The financial house of cards Saylor built is collapsing. MSTR's per share discount to its Bitcoin holdings is soaring. STRC is tanking, and Bitcoin itself is breaking down. Well, I don't know about that phrasing there, but whatever. It's taking the rest of crypto down with it. Soon, Saylor will trade in his orange tie for an orange jumpsuit. And then finally, crickets today from CNBC on the collapse of STRC, the sell-off of MSTR. It's widening discount to the NAV, and what portends for future common stock or Bitcoin sales. CNBC provided Saylor with lots of airtimes to scam their audience. The least they can do is report their own losses. So, again, this is just in the last few hours. He's just been going after it. His engagement's through the roof. I hope he's monetized on X, because this is probably going to do more profit than all his companies. But, not saying he's not making profit there, but I'm just saying, yeah, he's been loving it. It's been fun. And it's like, it's one of those, like, you got to give it to him because when you're that annoying for that long, I mean, for that long,
Yeah.
and then you finally get like a turnaround, like, and there will be a point at which in the next 5+ years where crypto as a whole, a cryptocurrency, whatever market cap, price, adoption, whatever, is going to go way up and is going to dwarf the gold and precious metals sector. It's going to happen, and he'll go back to eating crow by then. But like, let him have this now. This and next year are going to be his, like, and he's not young, so it's like, does he really need that much more money after all that stuff? Like, he can just like delete his Twitter account at the end of next year, and then just like, people are like, hey, where's Peter? Oh, the tag isn't working, and he doesn't care because he did fine, right? Let him have.
I mean, unless he really screws up, Peter Schiff's got a lot of money. I mean, just through his company, so he's fine. But no, I love being on the same side of Peter Schiff. Like, I just wish he weren't so stupid about crypto. It's like, dude, if the technology has value, then obviously the token has some value. You may argue the actual value, but you can't argue that the technology doesn't have value. I mean, come on. He's just been so stupid about that whole thing this entire time. But I love that he's the pit bull going after Saylor right now. I'm right there with him. Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Oof. It's good to have him back on that thing, because also he is consistently been a critic of big government spending, of government overreach, of financial censorship, of all the kinds of things that we all hate. And then he's been saying really dumb stuff about crypto, partially dumb stuff. I mean,
yes.
But now he's saying everything now he's saying stuff that makes him look really smart. So as a knock-on effect, the rest of his stuff looks smart. Yeah. So that's what I'm liking right now, is people are like, oh my gosh, he's right about this. And what else are you right about? The government sucks. Sounds good to me.
So that's a good point. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with MicroStrategy. I mean, what they have in its favor is, I do think that the price of Bitcoin over the long period is just going to keep going up. Like, tokens just going to go up. It's the most popular of the cryptos, and for the foreseeable future, that's just what's going to happen. So maybe that saves the company, but they've definitely put themselves in harm's way. Maybe they grew too fast. They had to do something, though, because they needed to deal with the fact that their average acquisition cost was so much higher than the price of Bitcoin. So they had to do something to raise revenue, to get liquidity so they could pay these dividends. They had to do something. And so maybe he'll issue another another instrument. Maybe that's what he'll do, and get a whole group of other idiots investing in it. Sorry if you're listening to this, I just called you an idiot, but probably shouldn't.
I mean, I don't know about, like, here's the thing about scammers, right? Is when and this is to a certain extent any salesperson, even people who are very righteously salesy, you build off of goodwill, and if you don't have any, it's really hard to build it back. It's really hard to come back from a crash. And so he ran his company the first time around into the ground. And of course, everyone's saying, lost however many billion in one day, that whole old headline thing. He can't just go like, hey, guess what? Let's MicroStrategy it back up. It's like, no, that's not going to work. So he had to find a new group to do this to. And the thing is, part of the reason why he's been able to continue going is he stopped emphasizing the common stock when it was looking not super performant, not even crashing, just not looking as great as it was before. And then he could just do new things, and there's a new thing to go after. And eventually the attention spans get like longer and longer relative with the context. And eventually it builds up to where people are like, wait, everything you've done, you've had to move on from. And eventually there's a reputational crash where you can't sell anything anymore. And so the only way, like, I kind of feel like if Bitcoin recovered to previous levels, he looks okay now at this point if he makes it through, but not great. I don't think he looks great. He doesn't look like a genius anymore. He just looks like, oh, all right, well, he made it all back. And I'm sure the Max, yeah, well, we did all this stuff. But the rest of the world is like, well, he made a lot of it back. There was some yield, but like S&P 500 would have outperformed. It'd be less risky. That was a little close during some of these times. Like, it doesn't look that great. So in order to come back, first of all, he does need to go exponentially higher in order to he does need to like not have a bigger collapse, because right now this looks like egg on his face, but not the whole carton. If he gets the whole carton of eggs on his face, that's going to be really hard to come back from.
Yeah,
he'll need to come into a new audience to do this, or he'll just need to like hope Bitcoin goes to 500,000 or more and he still has a bunch, and then he's going to look like, oh, okay, well he almost wrecked everyone, but look at the gains, man. And I don't think it's just going to do that, at least not next cycle.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's so funny because his company really does need a figurehead that you can buy into, that exudes trust. And he just exudes slime ball to me. Like, I don't understand how there's some people who, like, in the past I've like been friendly with and liked, who are all in on this guy. And I'm like, how does your spider sense not go off with him? Like, he's just pumping. All he's doing is pumping, and very pro intervention from governments. Just not a sovereignty freedom guy. It's just because he's saying he's making the bullish case for Bitcoin, I guess, and people need hopium, but he just comes off as a slime ball.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of to a different extent can be extended to something like Steak and Shake, where Steak and Shake, on the other hand, first of all, I think that they're okay for a fast food joint, or fine.
They're going tallow.
And well, that's what I'm saying. And I also think that they, anyone accepting any kind of cryptocurrency payments, that's good. I'm like, yeah, that's to be celebrated.
For sure.
So like, it starts at least flat and then good.
Yeah.
But they really affinity schemed the whole Bitcoin community, where like the tallow stuff, I don't think the whole, like, Buffalo Wild Wings uses tallow now, I believe. They moved back to that. A bunch of Wingits down the street does that too. Like, a bunch of these places do now. But they're the ones who made a brand out of it and show these tallow jars because of the Bitcoin maximalist meat connection that they're just hyping up, and like it's all kind of cringe, but they found like an affinity thing to sort of promote on. And I kind of feel like a lot of people forget everything else that you do if you're like, oh, it's one of our guys, the team sports aspect of psychology. And the thing about I don't know if you noticed, like, he stepped down as CEO, or was he CEO, I think, of strategy, and then was this Fong Li guy is instead. And I think that some of that is because the shareholders are like, dude, this guy's a lunatic. Like, we can't have this. We like a lot of the stuff, but this is crazy. And so we need someone with steadier hands. And so they got someone else in to be like, oh, no, look, it's not just this madman. It's, who posts, of him jumping ship into the rope. I still can't forget him for that thing. It's hilarious. But it's like, no, it's a proper company with a proper CEO. It's a very risk-averse looking guy, and all that stuff. Still an orange tie and still a little wild in the eyes, but it's fine. And this guy's the prophet, the pumper. And there we go. But, I mean, I don't know. Who knows how this whole thing is going to shake out in the end, but I do think the last, I guess, question on that whole thing is, do you have any good vibes for any of the digital asset treasury companies? Is there anything viable in this whole thing?
Well, I'll tell you what I do. I mean, so because of the way that my wife and I own a marketing firm, and then also an app development company, and because of the way that we were structured, it made sense from a tax reason to have a 401k. So it's a self-directed 401k. It's just my wife and I. But and so what am I going to buy on the? Like, I don't like any of that shit. But like for tax reasons, I had to do it. So what am I going to put my money in? So I bought like FBTC, and because I I hold it through Fidelity, friend of the show apparently. FBTC and FETH because, like, why not? I believe in crypto in general. I wouldn't just go out of my way to buy those things with after-tax funds. No, I'd rather just buy the token, whether it's Bitcoin or ETH or Dash or whatever it is. I would just do that. But because of I had to, it made sense from a tax reason to have a 401k. Then yeah, I've invested in those things because I think they're better investments than, I mean, maybe tech companies, but like what else would I put my money in, really? So that's what I do. But it's just it wouldn't be my preferred, but it's because of the tax advantage of having the 401k that I did it that way.
Yeah, I mean that does make sense. Personally, I mean, obviously, my style or whatever. I would, if I were, talking. I mean, all this is all hypothetical, right? If I were doing a household thing, if you have to have a 401k or something, I would probably put it in stuff like the S&P 500, like more traditional stocks. Because fiat is not good to put money in, but companies are, and it's a hedge against your crypto stuff. Your crypto goes to zero, or you have a rough year because of hacks or something. I don't know, whatever it is. But it's like one thing people are asking is, it's gotten bad for them, the maxis, when they start comparing, being like, yeah, but Saylor's getting hosed, but look at Tom Lee, and it's just like, look, dude, that's not a good sign.
No.
But I have pointed out, Tom Lee's done a bunch of really I don't know, I have not looked in nearly as much into that, but it seems like from my cursory research, he's done a bunch of dumb things also. However, the one big thing is he's staking Ethereum validators, and therefore he gets a certain percentage every single year or regularly that he can use to pay dividends without touching his principal. So if the price of Ethereum doesn't get any better or even goes down a little bit, he can continue to just survive long term without touching the principal.
That's right.
Whereas strategy has to sell. And that kind of reminds me of, for a trip down memory lane, I don't know if you've ever heard of Neptune Digital Assets.
That's not ringing a bell right now.
If you want to look into it real quick, it's neptunedigitalassets.com. But I'm just I'm putting on the screen. I think it was like the first DAT or digital asset treasury as a Bitcoin treasury strategy. It's staking node infrastructure. At a glance, how much Bitcoin in their treasury? 420 Bitcoin in their treasury. They have Solana in their treasury. They have SpaceX shares, a bunch of stuff. So it's like a diversified DAT company. I think they were probably one of the first ones because they launched in like 2018 or something, like 19, so way back when. I think 2018 on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and their name was Neptune Dash at the time. All they did was own Dash masternodes, and they let you buy in with, again, your 401k or whatever, and get a yield on that. And because masternodes have, like, what is it, 7% APY, whatever it is. And I think that they got a little too carried away because they sort of bought the top, and then they ended up diversifying and selling a bunch. Today, as of like a month ago, they confirmed they still have at least 2 masternodes that they run to keep as part of this whole thing. But the point is, this was way before the treasury craze.
Right.
This was like, they were the first, as far as I'm aware. I think they were the very first of these types of companies. And it did make sense of, like, if I needed an institutional product to invest in with a 401k or something, I would love there to be some kind of a company like, again, I've not done any due diligence in terms of what Neptune does today. I just, everything that's not, they're diversified, anything more than that, I just learned during the show, like right now. But something similar where you have a diversified basket of major yield-bearing staking assets in crypto, and you can invest in. I mean, that would be great. You get some Ethereum, you get some Solana, you get some masternodes, you get a couple other things, and then you just, even if the price fluctuates, there's still yield coming in. That would be something that I would consider a good legacy financial product until we get tax benefits or whatever else for just raw dogging into the coins, as it were.
I think that's a good idea. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm just looking at them now. It looks like they've definitely diversified past crypto into tech. Exactly, like they were just in on, like they bought SpaceX and bought, looks like they bought into Polymarket. I'm a big negative. I have negative feelings towards Polymarket, by the way. Very big negative feelings towards them.
Want to go into that real quick?
I just think that they're influencing the markets with their Twitter account. They're influencing their own. And number one, which sucks. It's like, screw you for doing that. And they're lying. And then two, you can't, like, the way that the markets, the way that the bets are being written, it's very rare that you have, I wouldn't say very rare. Oftentimes it comes up where you can't verify in an objective way. And so, like, what are we doing here? And then there's a lot of capture that can happen because of that, because the verification, what are those called? It's like what,
the Oracle problem.
Thank you. It's the Oracle problem. For capture of the oracles will then sway these markets, because you have to have a definitive, objective truth. So if you own the Oracle, or if you can sway the Oracle, you can move the objective truth and win these bets. I think it's just like rife with corruption, and Polymarket. It's like one of the worst. Polymarket and Mario Nawfal are the two worst Twitter accounts on the planet. Both of them breaking. Shut up, Mario. And Polymarket with its like swaying the marketplaces, the market with their Twitter accounts. I hate both of those accounts so much.
Yes, and the only one I really dislike maybe more is Matt Wallace, who used to be like the Doge person.
Yeah.
But it's less damaging, just like annoying.
Totally. I'm down on Doge too. Like go away, Doge. Go away.
Yeah, and I feel so conflicted. Not so, but I agree. I just feel nostalgia for Doge being an actual pure thing and not a scam that then ended up becoming a scammy thing later.
It was just the first meme coin. It's like nothing. Yeah. Like I appreciate tokens, or tokens that have a technology, like there's a technology reason why that they're being built. That's why Litecoin, it's like,
wow, isn't enough for you?
No, it wasn't enough for me. I'm sorry to be a stickler for such things, but it's just this, forever inflating meme coin. And like, why? There's no reason why. It's not fun that wasn't fun. Freedom should be fun, but
yes,
but that one wasn't for me. It's like, why is this a tool for freedom? And it never was. It's just this. It made people rich. It made the guy, made them rich. Like, fine. I don't mind people getting rich, but like, create something that actually moves us forward towards liberty.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I know I'm a pain in the ass, so I get that.
That's perfectly reasonable. I mean, people that love Dogecoin, I don't really like that either. It's funny. One of the biggest Dogecoin whales, who I don't know how big he is these days, or was one of the bigger Dogecoin whales, who has an actual Doge, and he's very realistic about it. He just says, "Oh, it's fun, but it's not worth a lot, and the tech sucks these days. The wallets don't work, any of that stuff." Because he actually was a Doge user since the early days. But anyway, all that to say, when you were talking about the prediction market stuff, that does remind me. I was on a space. I think it was QuickSwap. You know those guys, the Polygon?
Yeah, I do.
I was on one of their spaces like a couple years ago, or I don't know how quickly stuff happens. It was a year end, maybe end of 2024. That must have been it. Kind of thing. And it was a space on prediction markets. And one of the questions they asked, just when they started to really heat up, right? And one of the things that they asked was, hey, everyone, all the speakers make 2 predictions and we'll check in on you in like a year or so. And so I did it and I forgot about it. And apparently I was reminded by the producer of that show later about, hey, your both of your things came true. I'm like, oh, really?
Oh, what were they?
And it was one, I predicted that prediction markets would be gamed and have their oracles exploit or something like that within like soon, like within a couple of years. And I forget which the first one was. I think it was someone.
Maybe it was Zelensky. Like the handshake. Did Zelensky handshake with whatever or something? Wasn't that one?
No, it wasn't even that. It was, by where will Russian forces be at a certain time in the Ukraine conflict, and they used some respected nonprofit, policy institute as their oracle, and someone on the inside hacked the website and changed it to say something, so that triggered the payout before they caught him and changed it back. Right. So there was that, and I was like, oh, okay, there we go. There's been a few others, like the guy in the Charles de Gaulle airport with the hair dryer. I think you remember that about the
Yeah.
temperature. And like, and he came back and did it again, dumb. But like, so there's that. And the other one is that the bear market will be triggered by some kind of a major capitulation event. And my bet is it'll have something to do with Saylor. And that one's a little bit, as much as I love to be this whole show, I've been doing the whole Peter Schiff, victory lap. As much as I'd like to do that, that one's a little iffier on if that has happened yet, because first of all, we don't have a capitulation event yet. We've just had some dumps, and also a lot of them centered around hacks. And
That's
of course, the 32 Bitcoin sale, and then STRC now depegging, or was never pegged to begin with, but that's semantics. All that stuff. Probably more of a dump than the hacks, maybe. I don't know. It's still up in the air, and what I had in mind for a capitulation has not happened yet.
Yeah.
That would be next year or something. You'd see, it's always the big capitulation, like the FTX scale thing, right before the bull market starts. It's not like at the beginning of the bear; it's at the end of the bear. You have that boom. So that's the open prediction that maybe I was right on, but maybe I'm not right on yet. But I probably will be right on.
Yeah, we're down 50%, but probably
That's nothing.
probably go.
It's just
Right,
a
so
scratch.
it'll go 70% or something. We'll see. I mean, maybe low 50s. Who knows? I'm not an oracle, but no, I'm not against prediction markets in general. I think I think they're great, and I was floored by how well it called the last elections, the last presidential election, and then even all the Senate and the congressional elections. Like, it was dead on balls. That's amazing. It's just we need to fix the Oracle problem, and then we need to fire they need to just get off Twitter. I mean, I know they can't, but I hate that account on Twitter. I had to mute it.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the point where it's hard to just greedy. Everyone is greedy. Everyone wants more. And Polymarket's already there saying, like, they were one of the best accounts, because they would say, these are the odds of this, these are the odds of that, and then you'd look at it and be like, oh, okay. And it was very informative about real world events because you had the market signals in there. But now they're just doing clickbaity news stuff to get people to get in and then bet.
Exactly.
And that's
right.
That's been, and it's funny because they said something about SpaceX or something related to Elon, and breaking blah 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 blah, and then he just like comments below, not true. Just like,
good. Thank you, Elon.
And it's just like, when Elon's coming and saying not true, like, you've killed the credibility. You need to step away now. That's my thought.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They're using they're using inflammatory clickbaity type of posting on Twitter in order to get people to go in and bet on their platform, and that I just hate that so much. Hate it.
Yeah, like, I think you should be able to be an honest salesperson of honest things, and like, I have not been a good pumper of cryptocurrencies. I've said, like, I think that the space is going to be immensely valuable. I think that the tech is very valuable. People will definitely get rich off of this stuff more than they already have. But I'm never going to say, buy this, it's going to go up forever. Or it's going to go up long term. It's just long term, it makes sense that this coin in particular, because it has a lot of value, if it continues to get, like, the number of asterisks I have to put for my own conscience in front of any pumpy statement that has to do with price, by the way. With other things, I can be pumpy all I want. Oh, this is great. So many more. We're all going to be living on crypto. You screw the Fed. Whatever. I could say all those things all I want. But as far as, like, pumping, like, so many asterisks have to line up, and that's probably why I'm not rich or not internet famous, because the people that do just irresponsibly pump. And like, there's this X community back when they still had those, I guess, that was called irresponsibly long MSTR, and I'm like, well, got that right.
I mean, I think you and I agree on this. Like, I do not like. That's why I try to center around the tech. I mean, everybody wants to be wealthy. Like, I want to be wealthy, but I don't feel good about being some sort of weird pumper. Like, that's not. Even though it's popular. Like, I remember in like the 2017 bull market, there were a ton of crypto influencers. That's when the crypto influencers started, and you had all these accounts on Twitter that started to really get to be like 100,000 people. And then I saw that they were using their platform to influence their own trades. Like they were saying they would do a trade, but that would all these people would follow their trade, and it would raise the token price. And so then they would sell before, telling everybody they were going to sell it. So they were just inflating their own wealth using their own platform as influencers. I hated that stuff so much, which is why I think, if you really give it, because it's like you don't care. You don't actually care about the purpose of the technology whatsoever. And it really bothers me. So you're just using it to enrich yourself, basically at the cost of everybody else, all your followers, and yeah, it's gross. So I do the same thing that you do. I try to center around the technology.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, in sunshiny topics, age verification.
Yeah, let's do that.
VPNet posted this thing here, by the way. It says, half the country now makes you prove your age to view content online, usually by handing a government ID to some private verification vendor. In June 2025, the Supreme Court upheld Texas' Texas law 6-3 and gutted the main argument against it. And so here's this this map, and I'm going to go just as you can see it. Most of the U.S. is red, which is active law in force of an online age verification law. And then there's a minority sprinkled around of bill currently pending. California and New York are enacted but not yet effective. And Colorado's the only one that has a tried and failed here. And then in the green text are, let me just count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 that have no legislation yet, states. And of course, the great state of New Hampshire is one of those. I'm also, Nevada tends to be very strong on personal freedom, so I guess that they would probably resist along as well. The fact that Colorado beat it makes me bullish on Colorado. For the rest of them, I don't know. But first of all, the disclaimer, again, because I'm not a pumper or a whatever, probably the vast majority of these have to do with adult content, meaning like you can't go to Pornhub or whatever without proving that you're not a minor. And I don't agree with that at all, but that's a big caveat. It's not mandatory broad scale age verification thing. It's just it's the camel's nose under the tent. The camel ain't in the tent already. So with that disclaimer, I'm trying to get people scared about this, but I have to be realistic about how bad it is yet.
Yes.
So what are some of your thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, so I looked into Florida after I saw this, and because I was like, is this actually happening here? Because of course the famous stuff is happening in Britain right now. That's all over the news.
Oh yeah, that's really bad.
That's really bad. Where you're gonna have to prove your age to be on the internet. And the problem is, it's not just your age, so it's your identity, and what company is keeping track of this, and then they can match your identity to the things that you post on. It's like, say you wanted to be anonymous on Twitter, they're going to now track your ID to your Twitter account and what you're posting on there. So that it's a huge free speech issue and privacy issue all combined. So so I'm looking at Britain, I'm like, what the fuck happened to Britain? What is this, China? Not even China does that. But now I have to look in my own backyard because China, because it's happening here. So I did check, and of course New Hampshire's on the right side of this because, again, like we talked about in the beginning,
we're going to fight hard to make sure it's on the right side of this. But
I mean,
this isn't one of those. Usually, I'm a little bit of a freedom pumper. I'm like, yeah, man, like we're doing great. You all guys suck in your taxes and stuff, and but this is one of those things where it's kind of like a lot of the smart Monero people were just very muted when Zcash had the inflation bug discovered, because they're like, oh this could be us, and we just want to be, we're all in this together at this point. This is not a time for New Hampshire to showboat over Florida. This is a time to be like, ooh, no, let's be careful that this doesn't come here.
So then I did remember that this came to Florida. I remember it sort of in passing after I looked into it. So what's going on in Florida? It's adult. You're exactly right. It's the state of Florida is making adult websites check a government ID to prove that they're 18 before they can get in. Huge privacy issues there. Of course, you can get around this with a VPN, but it is actually happening in Florida. It it is just limited to adult content. So like Pornhub is like not doing anything in Florida because of this. It's just limited to adult content. But as you accurately said, this is just a stepping stone. Like this could be, oh, we should do this for gambling. Oh, we should do this for whatever, social media access. And then the infrastructure for that type of law is already on the books and already in place. They can just copy it and paste it and turn it against something else. This is very similar to this is happening in Florida as well. There are anti-Semitic laws in Florida, which what they will do is they will add on harsher punishments to crimes that already exist if you exhibit anti-Semitism in the same way, which is completely ridiculous. So maybe we talked about this already, I can't remember, but to give you an example, if you littering is a certain level of misdemeanor. But if you litter content that has like anti-Semitic content, then it ups the charge.
You litter anti-Semitically.
Right. It ups the charge, which is completely ridiculous. And that's the case as well. So it's for like if you you hurt somebody, but then you hurt someone because you're being anti-Semitic, it ups the charge. So and ups the potential
the
fine.
Amount of jokes you could spin off of this.
I know.
Or just like litter if you speed.
And the problem is
drive fast to escape the Jews. Now all of a sudden your speeding ticket gets doubled. Like, what is it if you embezzle money, but if you do it from a Jewish company? Oh my God, then it's worse. It's just worse. The jokes write themselves. I could see a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode already.
The problem is,
anyway,
the definition of what anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism is enshrined in a way that with like these, I think it's something like 12 different guidelines, and a number of them are if you criticize the state of Israel, that can be considered anti-Semitism. So say you put a flyer on a car that says, hey, look, Israel's committing a genocide in Gaza, which they are, and you put that on someone's car, that person calls the cops. The cop says, well, he littered, and because they're criticizing Israel, we can equate that to anti-Semitism. You get a sharper fine or prison time. That's what's happening in Florida right now. So this is a slippery slope.
If you put a door hanger for a Thomas Massey election,
there you go.
That could be anti-Semitic littering right there.
Yep.
My goodness.
That's exactly right. So there's some troubling times in Florida with these things. Now, luckily, you're not seeing it being enforced, but they're on the books. Actually, that type of law is on the books in something like 25 states in the country as well. It's the same thing.
Yeah, which I don't know. I mean, maybe I should start a politics show too if I had spare time. But like,
you should. Well, I'll have you on mine sometime soon.
Yeah, well, there we go. But that whole thing that's gotten a little crazy in terms of that. And what is funny about that is you do see a lot of that sentiment expand into the crypto world, where people will be like, oh, is this coin controlled by such certain people? And it's a blockchain. And by the way, it has smart people involved and money involved, which means there's going to be some, there's going to be some exposure, right? Like, it's just the way it is. You can't be all like, but it is funny where the thing about the age verification law thing, this is why I think being a liberty maximalist is the only thing that really makes sense, but also being a cypherpunk maximalist, because that kind of drills down a little bit more the front lines of the liberty fights. I mean, the liberty is a huge war, right? As far as like the war for greater human freedom is never ending and never will end. But as far as the special ops are, is all the cypherpunk front lines. And so online age verification, OS operating system level, like even things like Ubuntu that we're talking about putting that into the option in case you need to comply with certain laws around the world. That's like the 300 Spartans hold. Like that's where you need to hold the line, because as soon as that gets hit, I wouldn't say it's all over, but you're going to have to. That's when you have a lot of freedom activists start to go to prison, is when things like that start to get enacted. This
Totally.
is really important.
And what's going on in Florida, everybody should know this, that's like the minimal application of these laws right now. So there are worse, like there's the App Store Accountability Act which would require age verification at the account level and parental consent for each minor's app download. That's in Utah, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, and California. They've passed versions of that. I mean, now we're tracking ID to the apps that you use on your phone, your browsing history. It's crazy. And then bills moving through Congress, KOSA is the social media bill. So, we're trying to restrict minors' access to social media, but like it doesn't, So dating apps are another target as well. And then the newest one is AI chatbots to require chatbot operators to stay away from certain people. So you're going to need, I don't know, age requirements for bots to, and you think of like chatbots, AI chatbots in the worst ways is like trying to sell you shit, but no, it's actually also customer service, and it can really take on a lot of like menial answering question type of work that humans don't really need to do. So all that stuff's coming, and all that stuff is a front on this war.
Yeah, and people don't really realize. I think that's one of those reasons why, like, parts of my life are complicated and annoying, like the trying to live all on crypto and also try to live all on privacy tech with like Google this, Linux that, encrypted this, all that kind of stuff. Because for me, I mean, and don't want to maybe overstate it, because as a freedom person, obviously there is some risk, but on the other side, I'm one of the least at risk people in the world for censorship on all these things. Like, I'm pretty sure I could have a bank account and a steady job and a mortgage and all this stuff, and Google's not going to censor what I say. I don't even really swear online even. I mean, like, so I'm pretty much like, I mean, on these shows sometimes, but I'm pretty safe, but I put myself at the edges for research purposes, because now I see where it starts hitting down the pike. Like, for example, when my de-Googled phone when an app won't work on it because it hasn't been verified by Play Protect or whatever the Google stuff. I'm like, oh, I see that. Or you need an SMS number, not just a VoIP number for verification. Oh, ID verification. No. Or you cannot get an APK file of an app. That's how I know, or it's not like a real freedom app, because you need to go through a strangulated app store, or the app just stops working because of Google Play services. In fact, it was funny because there is an invite feature in the Dash Pay wallets, the new Dash wallet, that lets you pay for someone else's username registration. So you could send someone a code, they press the code, they download the wallet and have their register their human readable username, and it all works great. And the first version of that, my invites started failing, and I'm like, what's up with this? And they're like, oh, there's some kind of because the link is handy in that it opens up like the Google Play Store or whatever link to, if you haven't downloaded the app already, there's some kind of thing that didn't work because I had a de-Google phone. And so then the next version it fixed, and now invites are working in my Graphene phone now. But it's like that, like hawk eye on the little creep, got to get rid of it. And the same thing with all these ID verification things. I know people, and I'm sure you must as well, who either who are undocumented in a country, meaning like an illegal immigrant of some kind, or are undocumented, period. They just don't have any documentation, any paperwork that proves their existence, or government paperwork, I should say. What do? How do they get their freak on, right? In terms of like that kind of stuff. How are they supposed to be anti-Semitic online? I'm just kidding.
That's true.
But to be silly,
how are they supposed to put flyers around?
Yes.
Well, but yeah, I mean, they have a lot of challenges though, because how do they even drive? Like, they can't drive or anything. Maybe they don't need to. They live in a city.
Which that means that you don't have the right to drive a motor vehicle. That's right. Just what it means in the U.S. It is turned from, I get to use whatever thing I want to without, like, no one can stop me, as long as I'm not being a criminal and hurting people, just like you could if you're doing a bicycle down the street. You don't need an ID to drive a bike. No. Well, you scooters and stuff, a lot of that stuff you need nothing for. But then as soon as you have a car, it's not just, no, anyone can do it. We just want to make sure you're being safe about it. It's like, no, not everyone can do it. It's a privilege that is now lent to you by the government.
Yeah.
So it's just like the same thing is air travel, for example. So I've been traveling a lot, like to a lot of different countries this year. And, getting on the plane, it's always like, oh, I got to go through TSA or whatever security thing. And even though some things are better, it's always a big pain. And then you have your passport and they got to, what are you doing here? And all this kind of stuff. Even if you're flying domestically, you have to like have a passport or a real ID or whatever. There's all this stuff. And then I was sort of lamenting because I had to go down to New York City last Friday for an event, which, by the way, was at PubKey, a pub that actually takes crypto, which is very nice. It was a privacy event. Oh, that was cool. But I was lamenting how annoying it was to get from New Hampshire to New York City, despite the proximity, that I might as well have just gotten on a plane. But the big difference is I just show up at the bus like 3 minutes before they leave, and I just get on. And I didn't even need my ticket. They just said, "Oh, what's your name? What name did you put?" I just told them, and they just let me on. Here you go. And then that's it. You just like, it's just free. And you go, and not to say, I don't want to say anything nice about New York City, but like the metro, you get on the metro, you just pay for the thing with my little no KYC watch thing. And I just get on and no one cares who I am. That anyone can use. You can airdrop a non-person, legal non-person, and they can just do that. A child can show up and just do this stuff. Whereas, like an 8-year-old child, I don't know if the 8-year-old child, if there's two in a trench coat, maybe they can show up to the bus and be like, "What's the name?" Oh, there you go. But can they fly without documentation? No. Without parent? No. So that's the ultimate gate. We have to find out where these gates are and break them down, or make sure they don't erect new ones.
Yeah, man, I'm sure the powers that be do not like the fact that you can just be dropped into New York City and travel all around that city without showing any ID whenever they want. I wonder how long until that changes, until the subway starts to require your ID. Well, they'll go cashless at some point, and although we do have tools, you mentioned one, to purchase things with non-trackable cards and things. It's not MasterCard or Visa or whatever, but I wonder how long that will be. You do make a good point, because you could pretty much live in a city like New York. No one would want to. Who would want to live in New York City, that shithole? But, in case you had to, like you had no other option. It was like this or nothing. If you had to live there, then you could make your way around that city pretty well without having to show an identification. So that is that's like one saving grace of New York City. I didn't think there were any. You mentioned one.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of cities. Now, Europe is so much more locked down than America. However, as a traveler to Europe, not as a resident, I was pretty fine with a lot of stuff. Like, for example, I could get a completely no KYC, a digital card that you can reload with crypto and put on my watch, and I just boop, and I get into the Stockholm metro, get anywhere I want. No questions asked. Now, of course, for a European, those prepaid cards don't work in like Google Play type things. And they also are limited, like 50 euros is the max balance. Like, so they're really locked down. So, and also you do need a bank account. Like, there's lots of Americans with no bank account, millions, in fact. But you cannot be that way in the EU, from my understanding, where you need a bank account for ID purposes at least. It's like you need to be plugged into that system. So, the funny thing is, you can get around a lot in Europe by being a European who taps into American financial infrastructure, these U.S. card programs, and just eat the Forex fee to have no KYC payment options. If you're a privacy maxi, you pay more than I would, but it's perfectly doable, and it's funny how that works. But anyway, cypherpunk hacking into the systems and see where do we have permission.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to do it, and you explained it really well. Where just because you want to live your life a certain way, you're gonna butt up against where the frontier begins and where the state begins, and where you're gonna have to be forced to reveal yourself, and you can make your choice. Okay, is this worth revealing myself or not? Maybe it's worth having a bank account for this specific thing. Maybe it's not, but you at least have the choice because you're putting yourself out there. You've created a standard. And that standard and value system has put you in a place where you can see where it begins and ends.
I mean, this thing seems to segue pretty well into at least what you were working on last time I talked to you, the AI sovereignty stuff.
Yeah.
You want to touch on that a little bit?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's still just like and we talked about this on the Dash thing yesterday. I think about this a lot, where my initial reaction to AI was fearful. Like I was afraid of it, just because you can see how powerful this technology is, and it's as dumb as it'll ever be. It'll just keep getting smarter over time. It's already cracking government systems and finding finding nasty bugs in some of like the infrastructure that we've just sort of taken for granted. So, and it's just going to get smarter. In fact, it's so funny that the U.S. government basically made it illegal now, or like put pressure on Anthropic to remove its most recent model. It's crazy, the Fable model. They wouldn't even release Mithros because it's so powerful. And then a Fable they tried to release, but then the government was like, well, you can't, something like, no, we won't allow any Europeans in the United States to use. It's very strange. So but I was initially very afraid of, this is probably circa 2022 and 23, afraid of AI. But then, just like every other technology, and I love technology, and I love technology as a mean. It's the only option for us to have our freedom is to work, is to use technology to work around the system, or to create better systems than what we have. It's the only option. So I love technology, of course. And so just like crypto, AI can be used for good or for evil. It just depends on the morality of the person wielding it. And the thing with crypto is there are decentralized tools. There are permissionless, decentralized, even private tools that we can use. Those already exist, and so we can opt into those systems. AI is a little bit different, where the only way for AI, for the humanity to thrive and survive with AI long term, is to have sovereign AI on our own local machines. It's the only way, because otherwise you are at the whim of someone else's value system. It's either Grok and whoever programmed Grok's value system, and say that you wanted to buy a robot. I want a robot sometime too, because I want a robot pal. We can build houses together. We can do anything together. But I would not trust a robot.
I want the one that comes with the auto turret,
Well, that's a good one. Yeah. Well, and that to protect you, to protect your family, to be your advocate, whatever. I want a robot future for sure, but I would never trust a robot who is being controlled by an AI that I do not have locked down, and that I am 100% confident that it's acting with my value system in mind. And the only way to do that is if we have sovereign hardware. We have hardware where that AI can live, that we know cannot be infiltrated by anybody else. So that's like my big thing. I said this last time, I think we talked, but I'm gonna start really talking about this a lot more as soon as my product is out. Can't announce that yet, but pretty soon I'll have a product out. But I do have my good buddy Xavier is working on the sovereign hardware situation, because we do have the technology to lock down our systems. It's just not being used in this way yet. And so he's working on this problem. There's the technology exists where we can have this. We just need to have it as soon as possible. I've been pressuring him because I am worried that AI is moving so fast. And the problem isn't just like AI is moving so fast. And the problem isn't just like, oh, we're worried that AI is going to become sentient and take over. That is definitely a future that could happen. That's not what I'm worried about short term. Short term, what I'm worried about is nefarious organizations, including federal governments, are going to use it against us. And so we need sovereign AI as soon as possible to protect us against adversarial AI. So I've been really pressuring him to make this a reality as fast as possible. And he's definitely working on it. But that's those are the things that I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Now I looked into, as I'm sure we talked about before, I kind of dabbled some toesies into the whole sovereign, like local AI stuff, and it starts to get a little bit complicated for the average user. Now, what do you think of the concept of? So here's the thing, right? Like government controlled stuff, worst, right? And then you go to like megacorp licensed stuff,
second worst,
and then it's company. It's a freedom company that says they don't log IPs, they do whatever, all that stuff, but still a centralized company. And then at the very closest to freedom is running it yourself, but there might be something in between those two things. And I'll give the example of so crypto, right? Because crypto is, you're not running everything yourself a lot of times. You're running, the network is, but it's a decentralized network.
That's right.
Permissionless. So what are your thoughts on the ability to pull something like that off for AI, similar to how stuff like NIM, for example, with NIM VPN has created like a relatively decentralized, at least working on it, network of servers that's not just one company running this.
Yep. Yeah. So there's two problems that we're facing. One is the size of the models that you can fit on your own hard drive is they're very big right now. So you need, like, I bought a Mac Studio with 128 gigs of memory, and that can run something pretty powerful. Something about the size of, or something about that's as good as like Sonnet 4.6, which is like the for Anthropic, it's Fables but it's not released, so you can't get it. But basically, Opus 4.8 is its top model that people are using right now. Sonnet is and there's Opus 4.8, 4.7, 4.6, whatever. But Sonnet 4.6 is a few levels. Well, it's probably like Sonnet's probably top of the line maybe 2 years ago. So I, on my pretty like maxed out machine, can run something like that. So and Sonnet's good. Like, I use it for coding and for other things, but it's not like the difference between that and the top models is pretty far. So we run up against that. You need a machine that can run something super powerful, and that's going to get easier and easier. Like, these models will get smaller and smaller, but to get something, to get a model on a local machine that's as good as Opus 4.8, you need like 600 gigs of RAM, which is very, very expensive. Like, Apple used to make 500 and something gigs of RAM in a Mac Studio, but they pulled it off the market. That machine was like $12,000 a few months ago, but now you can't even find it. You probably paying $20,000 for a machine like that right now. So that's prohibitive for a normal person. So that's the first thing, is like the size of a model with some girth on your machine. The second issue is that your hardware is not locked down. It doesn't matter what you have. If you've got a Mac, if you've got a PC, it doesn't matter. It can be infiltrated. It can just be infiltrated. Just know that it's a sieve. People can get it no matter how much you've locked it down. So that's really the secondary issue, is getting a hardware machine that is verifiably locked down that people can't get into. And the technology does exist for that, but it's not being applied here. It's being applied like French military and some other places, but it's not being applied on your computer yet. So that's really where we have to move towards. Maybe in the future, you have networks that are locked down that way, although you still would need your own
hardware
pocket
somewhere.
of that network. Your own pocket of that network that cannot be infiltrated by anybody else. And then that's a software solution, which is a little bit more porous than the right hardware solution. So those are the things.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's one of those things that has to go through these cycles where, like, every new tech started great and then quickly became, like, shitty, like, quickly became controlled.
Yeah.
And then open source variants popped up or whatever, and they were just always just trash. And then eventually good ones started to show up, just like a de-Googled phone. That's not that hard these days. It's not that hard to have a better than Googled phone as far as a lot of things are concerned. It's not that hard to have a better than the legacy financial system through a decentralized access. It's not hard to use encrypted messengers that are popular and very effective that are better than the centralized ones, and like the unencrypted ones. It's all getting better. And AI is one of those things where it's a massive accelerant. It's a massive weapon of war, whatever you want to call it. But we have some ways to go before it becomes kind of viable, to where I've sort of determined from my playing around with stuff that it's almost not worth it for me to experiment with local models today.
Yeah. Where
it's like, even with like 24 gigs of RAM or something, like very consumery, right? It's just like it's not even worth it. So yeah, it's rough, and I really hope the people working on this full time will really figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah, there's just a race. There's a race between the for good
Listen,
or for.
Can't say that in Florida. It could be anti-Semitic.
Well, good point.
Sorry.
I mean, AI has
the bar.
AI comes in different flavors. No. There's a race between those who are doing good and those who are doing evil, and those who are doing good are the ones that are creating sovereign tech for us. So there's this race of getting sovereign hardware before we stop being able to. Because once we do have sovereign hardware, then we can have AI that protects us. That is our protector against adversarial AI. But until that happens, we won't. And so the race is like how much damage is going to be done before we get the sovereign tech. So it's a little bit different than crypto, where even if CBDCs happen, we still have an outlet. We still have Zcash. We still have whatever. We still have decentralized products that if we just decide we want to opt out of the fiat system, we can. Like, that exists. But AI is a little bit different, that it just infiltrates every piece of technology that we have, and is spies on us, and is weapons of war, and can hack into whatever. So you don't want big corporations, and you don't want big government to be able to do that on your local machine. You want your local machine to be able to block all that stuff out.
Yes, and this is why, of course, I have to do a completely unsponsored plug for NanoGPT, because it's sort of a good interim step in that it allows completely anonymous accounts to pay with crypto for access to all the big corporate models with end-to-end encrypted queries and stuff. So basically, all they know is somebody is making these queries. So if you just say, what is the best way to hide a body in this backyard? You have a picture, and it goes to Grok or whatever. Come on, like, that's not going to be private. But if someone says something private about, like, I have a bump on my this, what could it be? And it could be any of their users. And so it's like the best, like, sovereign step for people who are right now, for lack of a better, like, raw dogging ChatGPT or whatever, where they're just going straight to the source with and it knows them by name and their family members by name, like, all that awful stuff. This is just the best way you can, in a sovereign way, access that for now. Let's hope it doesn't get shut down, and let's, in the meantime, build stuff that will last and actually be decentralized and sovereign.
Totally. Now it's all cloudy. Looks like it's going to rain down on me again.
Perfect.
It was sunny for a bit.
Yep, I stole the best years of your life, or the best hours of your day. Where is it? Shill o'clock? Is there anything else you want to shill?
Just people should just follow me on Twitter if they can. At Matthew Carano is the handle, MATTHWCARANO, and that's really the best thing you can do for me. If you like the stuff that I'm saying, just follow me on Twitter. And then I do a weekly podcast with CJ Kilmer, who's has an awesome podcast called the Dangerous History Podcast. I'd heard about CJ a decade ago in New Hampshire. Families were listening to his podcast. His Dangerous History Podcast is amazing. He does deep dive, long form history on a number of different topics. And he was a 20-year college professor, just really very smart guy, and is a great storyteller. So if you like history podcasts, I would highly recommend listening to Dangerous History Podcast. But me and CJ do a weekly kind of a news and current event and politics show called Brave the New World, which just follow me on Twitter and you can catch that. But that's what I'm doing.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, everyone follow him, follow his stuff. And I'll see you guys next week. And hopefully the world doesn't burn to the ground by then. But then again, that's what we wish every time. At least we're not getting bombed right now. So fingers crossed. All right, stay safe, everyone. I'll see you guys next week.
Adam, we're here because we love you. And we're all tired of watching you get abused.
Abused? By who?
Oh, hi, I'm Visa. I charge you 29% interest, 3% foreign fees, and make you wait 3 days to see if your payment went through.
But I thought you were my friend.
No, Dash is your friend. Instant, private, under a penny, and with Dash Spend, you walk into over 100,000 stores and pay like a boss.
All ready? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much. Feel alive, guys. This is awesome. Tastes like freedom. And I save 5% by using the app.
That's the Dash High, baby.
Let's go.
Download the mobile wallet, one tap, boom, financial sovereignty.